And then today we're going to start with a little bit of pranayama, and then we'll get going. My goal is to have us work on our third chakra. It's our sense of power, will, and ego. So we're going to start by We're going to start seated. So I want you to sit up on a block or on a blanket, and we're going to do 3 rounds of a very specific breath pattern. So we're going to do 27 rounds of Kapalabhati, followed by Nadi Shodhana, where you'll inhale. Don't worry, I'll talk you through this. You'll inhale through one nostril. You'll hold the breath for a count of 6 or so. Then you'll exhale through the other nostril, inhale through that nostril, hold the breath for a count of 6 or so, and then let the breath out through the other nostril. You'll release both hands, take a few breaths, and then we'll repeat that whole thing 3 times just to see what we notice. So I suggest you do either 27 rounds of breath. You can also do 36 rounds of Kapalabhati, but it's totally up to you. And so we're going to focus on that for today. Remember that Kapalabhati is just drawing the breath or the belly back on every exhalation. And ideally, we don't want the spine to move around. We just want this to happen in the abdomen. Okay, so we're going to start by making sure you're seated well. And you can just plant the hands wherever feels good and comfortable for you. And I want you to just start by closing the eyes, checking in with your body, noticing what you notice here, noticing how the body feels, noticing if there are any thoughts or feelings that are alive in your mental, emotional state, and just checking in. And then I want you to notice where the breath is in the body and just take a imprint of the breath, noticing what it's doing now. The next time you exhale the breath, let the breath empty completely, and then you'll inhale halfway. As you exhale, start your Kapalabhati, and it's just a rapid breathing out, so the inhale happens passively. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale all the breath from your mouth. Close your right nostril. Inhale just through the left. Just long, slow, deep breath in. Top of the inhalation, close your nostrils. Hold the breath. Count to about 6 or so, letting your attention focus on your abdomen. And then when you need to, you'll release your right nostril and exhale out through just the right nostril. Long, slow, deep breath out. When you need to, you'll draw the breath back in through your right nostril. Long, slow, deep breath in. Top of your inhalation, you'll close your right nostril. Hold the breath, lift the collarbone, still sitting tall, counting to about 6 or so. And then when you need to, you'll open the left nostril, let the breath slowly exit out through the left nostril. When the breath is completely out, release your right hand and just take another moment to check in, noticing what you notice now physically, noticing what you notice now mentally, emotionally, and then again, checking in with that breath print. So we're going to repeat that same thing 2 more times. And we're just noticing what happens each time that we do this. So at the end of your next exhalation, make sure the breath empties completely, and then inhale halfway. And when you're ready, you'll start Kapalabhati. And it's just a forceful exhalation, pulling the belly in and up. The inhalation happens very passively. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale the breath completely. When you need to, close the right nostril, inhale through just your left nostril. Long, slow, deep breath.
Top of your inhalation, you'll close your left nostril, hold the breath for about 6 counts or so, keeping the collarbones lifting, awareness in the abdomen. And when you need to, release the right nostril, exhale slowly through the right nostril. When you need to draw the breath in, you'll slowly gather the breath through just the right nostril, lifting the collarbone, sitting taller through the spine. Top of the inhalation, close the right nostril. Maybe drop your chin a little towards your chest as your awareness stays in your belly region. After about 6 counts or so, you'll release that left nostril, letting the breath slowly exit out through the left. And when the breath has left the left nostril, you'll lower your right hand. And again, you just check in and you notice what you notice. Today, we're working very intentionally on the concept of svidhyaya, checking in with ourselves, self-study. And our breath is one particular way in which we can start to observe and notice how we're doing. So here's our third and final round of pranayama for today. So you'll inhale and exhale all the breath out. When you're completely empty, inhale halfway. And then your third and final round of Kapalabhati breathing. And again, it's just focusing on the belly snapping in and back. The inhale is very passive. It just comes to you. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. When you need to, inhale just through your left nostril. Good morning, Tim. Top of the inhalation, lift the collarbones, close the left nostril, keep your awareness in the belly. And then when you need to, you'll gently open the right nostril, let the breath exit out through the right, very slow, steady, smooth breath. When you need to, you'll draw the breath back in through the right nostril, long, slow, steady breath. Top of your inhalation, close the right nostril, lift the collarbones, maybe chin drops a little bit towards your chest. After about 6 counts or so, you'll release the left nostril, let the breath slowly exit through the left nostril, and then lower your right hand. And then just again, take a moment to check in. Notice what you notice. Our breath is considered the quickest gateway to our mind. It lets us understand how we're doing on a very subtle level. And so today we're going to keep coming back to that. Very gently start to lower your chin towards your chest. Allow the eyes to flutter open if they're closed. And we're going to crawl ourselves forward to hands and knees, tabletop position. I do encourage a little prop set up. You might want to put your blocks towards the upper outer corners of your space. You might also choose to pad your knees with a blanket. Okay, and then with your hands shoulder distance apart, let's go ahead and tuck the toes under. Inhale, gaze forward, drop the belly, lift the tail. And then as you exhale, tops of the feet come to the floor, round through the spine, little cat pose. And that's how we'll do cats and cows today. So inhale, tuck the toes under, drop the belly, lift the head, lift the bum. And then exhale, tops of the feet press into the floor, round through the spine, press down into the hands. And you've got 3 more just like this. Inhaling, arching the spine, curling the toes under, lifting the tail, lifting the head. And then exhaling, rounding through the spine, pressing into the tops of the feet, pressing into the shins, pressing into the hands. And you're just observing what it feels like to breathe in this pattern after we just did Kapalabhati breathing and after we just did Nadi Shodhana. Awesome sauce. Here's your last set. Inhaling into a baby cow shape, toes curl under. And this time as you exhale, you'll press back to a downward facing dog. Keep your knees super bent, armpits lift up, knees stay bent, hands press down and forward. Nice job. Inhale, come forward, little baby cow shape.
toes tuck under, head lifts, belly drops. As you exhale, tops of the feet come to the floor, press back to a child's pose position. Awesome sauce. Inhale, come back to that baby cow shape. Toes curl under, head lifts, belly drops, tail lifts. Exhale, press back, downward facing dog, knees stay bent, armpits stay lifted. And we'll just do that 4 more times on your own. And I want you to just follow your inhalation. So the inhalation follows you down to a cow shape. Your exhalation leads you back to that modified child's pose. Your in-breath draws you forward into that cow shape. And then your exhale draws you back down to down dog. Now, as we go into this next time, I want you to pay attention to what's happening in your head. Notice specifically that if you can keep the chin drawing towards the chest as you start to go back to downward facing dog and start to go back to that modified child's pose. Yep. And then if you can let the head be the last thing to lift as you come forward into that little cow shape. So head is the last thing to lift in cow shape. Head is first thing to tuck into downward facing dog and child's pose. What this does is it starts to quiet the mind even more, and it starts to access what in Sanskrit is called Jalandhara Bandha. And literally all that means is it means to catch. Jalandhara means to catch. And what we're trying to catch are the fluctuations of the mind that run away with us. So the next time you find yourself in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, you're just going to stay there for about 4 steady breath cycles. And once we get to that down dog, I want you to keep just one knee super bent, and you'll straighten the other leg long, and you'll just breathe and notice what that feels like. One knee is bent, one leg is straight. And after about 1 complete breath cycle on this side, you'll switch sides. So then the other knee bends and the other leg straightens. And it's just a slow, steady breath. And you'll do about 2 more of those. And again, we're noticing where the head is in relationship to the spine. Does it feel like we're peeking too far forward or peeking too far back? Is there any unnecessary tension around our skull, neck region? Nice job, guys. And then when you feel pretty complete through your pedals and balanced on the sides, you'll come to a still neutral spot. Let's press down and forward through the L shape of our hands. Yep, lift up through our inner armpits. And from there, lift your outer hips back, your inner thighs back, and start to reach your heels back, maybe down towards the floor. Awesome sauce. Check in with your breath. Is it still slow? Is it still smooth? Is it still steady? And then at the end of this exhalation, empty the breath completely, raise to the tops of your feet so you're on your tippy toes. Bend your knees a lot and step your right foot forward, then step your left foot forward, and suddenly you're in a forward fold. Great. Now, once you're here in this forward fold, let's take a moment to pause. You might choose to grab the back of your head if that feels nice to you. You might choose to grab opposite elbow if that feels nice to you. But again, the head drops. Let the head quiet in. There turns out to be a nerve plexus in our abdomen that surprisingly has more neurons than a cat's brain. I thought that was very fascinating when I found that out. So if we could tune into our gut brain, we find that we have a lot of information and insight that can help us. We're going to work on that today. All right, if you're moving around, please go ahead and come to stillness. Release your hands down to the floor and then slide your hands up your shins, lift your spine halfway. Now let's pause here for a moment. I want you to stretch the space between your pubic bone and your sternum, so it feels like the front of your belly becomes long. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back and start to draw your chin towards your sternum towards your chin. Nice job. Next, in breath, see if you can find more length through your spine. As you exhale, draw your hands to your hips. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back, and inhale, come all the way up. Great. Okay. We're going to try about 3 sets of these. Take your right hand, bring your right hand to your low back with your palm facing away from you, and left hand will just dangle long. Now inhale, sweep your left arm up and overhead. As you exhale, bend your knees, push your back into your right hand. Inhale, reach up through your left fingers, lift the collarbones. As you exhale, start to draw your chin to your chest, hinge at your hips, reach out through the left fingertips, drawing the fingers alongside your left foot. Inhale, reach forward through the left hand, hinge at the back, come back into that chair pose. As you exhale, press your back into your right hand. Inhale, lift up through your left hand. Exhale, press your front ribs into your back body. Inhale, stand up, reach up through your left arm, and then exhale, lower your left hand down. We'll try that on the other side. So right hand comes down, left hand comes to low back. Inhale, sweep your right arm up and overhead. Exhale, bend your knees and press your front ribs into your back body. Inhale, reach up through your right pinky finger. Notice how that lifts the chest. Exhale, chin to chest, hinge at hips, reaching forward through a flat back until the right hand touches the floor. Both knees stay super bent. Inhale, reach forward through the right hand, hinge at the hips, come back into that chair pose. Exhale, press your front ribs into your back body into your left hand. Inhale, reach up through your right pinky fingers. Exhale, low back comes into your hand. You have to inhale, stand up, lift up through the right hand, and then exhale, lower the right hand down. Okay, we'll try that with both hands twice. Unless that doesn't feel good to you, then you'll go back to one hand or the other. But as you're ready, both hands will reach forward and up. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, sit back, chair pose, imagining you're pressing into your hand behind you. Inhale, reach up through your pinky fingers, lift the collarbones just a little. Exhale, chin to chest, hinge at your hips, keep your knees bent, fingers touch the floor outside of your feet. Inhale, sweep the arms forward, come back through a flat back to come into chair pose. Exhale, front ribs come into back body. Inhale, reach up through your pinky fingers, lift up through the collarbones. Exhale, front ribs come into back body. And last time, inhale, stand up, reach up, look up, tailbone drops, front ribs pull back. And exhale, both hands lower alongside your hips. Last time, inhale, sweep your arms forward to come up. Exhale, bend your knees, sit low, chair pose. Inhale, lift up through the fingers to lift the collarbones, lift the ribs. Exhale, chin to chest, hinge at hips, fingers come to floor, knees stay bent. Nice job. Inhale, keep the knees bent, sweep the arms forward, hinge to sit back, chair pose. And then exhale, stay here. Now we're going to stay here 3 breath cycles. So every inhalation, think of lifting your inner armpits, think of lifting your pinky fingers, think of lifting the collarbones. Every exhalation, those front ribs come into back body goes into imaginary hand. 2 more breath cycles. Inhale here, notice the length through the neck. Exhale, front ribs into back body. Inhale, reach up more through the arms. Yep, exhale, see if you can sit a little lower in your legs. Nice job. Now we'll come out. Inhale, stand up, reach up, look up. And then exhale, open the arms out to the side and down. Take a moment to close your eyes and just check in again. Notice your breath print now. Lengthen that tailbone down as the front ribs pull back and just pay attention to what the breath print is now. Cool. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, sweep your arms out to the side and up and overhead. As you exhale, cactus the arms, hinge at the hips, come all the way forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, fingers on blocks or floor, your choice. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your left leg long and back. Step your right leg long and back, plank pose. Pause here. Press down through the hands a lot, lift up through your inner armpits, and think of lengthening your tailbone back and drawing your pubic bone to your belly button. Let your breath stay steady, let your breath stay consistent. Next in-breath, shift your weight forward. As you exhale, slower than you want to, lower all the way to the floor, head stay lifted. Nice work, guys. Once you touch, tops of the feet come to the floor. Press down into your hands, draw the shoulder blades onto your back, and as you inhale, pull your heart forward and through to come up to cobra as high as you want. Keep pressing into those legs. Yep. Next, exhale, draw your front ribs back, staying in the cobra. Inhale, see if you can find more length on your front body, and then exhale, lower all the way back down to the floor. Nice job. From here, press down into hands and knees. Inhale, come up through plank or modified plank, your choice. And exhale, downward facing dog, 4 breaths. So now that you're here, I want you to just observe how the breath is. Notice how the body is. Trauma specialist Peter Levine talks a lot about how we learn to be ourselves through all the experiences that happen in our life. And it really sounds like yoga. This concept is Svidhyaya, self-study, is literally what the yogis have been talking about for ages. And it's just noticing where your breath is moment to moment, noticing how your body's feeling moment to moment, noticing where your thought goes moment to moment. On your next inhalation, rise to the balls of your feet. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the breath completely, and then step 1 foot forward, and then step the other foot forward. Awesome sauce. From here, inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Flat back, stomach away from pubic bone, and then exhale, fold all the way in, chin to chest. Inhale, root to rise, Urdhva Hastasana, arms reverse, swan dive, yep. And then exhale, lower the hands alongside your hips. If you're dizzy at all, lower the chin, lift the sternum. We'll do that 2 more times. So inhale, arms sweep out and up. As you exhale, cactus the arms, hinging at the hips, bringing the fingers out and then down towards your feet. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, sternum away from pubic bone. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your right leg back, step your left leg back, hold in plank pose. 3 breath cycles here. Think of lifting those inner thighs, reaching your tailbone back and reaching your heart and sternum forward. As you're ready, you'll inhale and shift your weight forward, keeping the armpits lifted. As exhale, lower all the way down to the floor. Once you touch, tops of the feet come to the floor, legs energize. Draw the shoulders onto your back, and then inhale, pull your heart forward and through cobra pose. Exhale, stay in cobra, but draw the front ribs in and back, and maybe inhale, lift a little bit higher, drawing shoulder blades onto back. Nice job. Exhale, lower all the way down. Curl the toes under. Either knees stay on the floor, legs straight and long. Inhale up through plank or modified plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 steady breaths. And then checking in this moment, where is the breath? What are the goings on of the body and the mind as they exist in this moment? It's one of those interesting things. We can only learn about ourselves by being with ourselves. You know, we can analyze every thought that we've ever had and every feeling that we've ever had, but who we are in every moment is changing. It's really based upon the sensations that we have, the awareness that that leads to. Inhale, press to the balls of your feet. Exhale, bend the knees, empty the breath completely, and then step 1 foot forward and then the other foot forward. Awesome sauce. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale, root to rise, Urdhva Hastasana, upward salute. And exhale, open the arms out. Allow the arms to hang alongside the hips. Lift your sternum, drop your tail, check in with your breath print. Okay, 3rd time's the charm. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, cactus the arms, hugging the shoulder blades onto the back body, hinging at the hips, coming all the way down to the floor. Nice job. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, transition back to plank pose, hold for 3 breaths. Now, once you're there, lengthen the tailbone back, lift the sternum forward, and then see if you can lift the back of the head up to the sky, just a smidge. Yep. Next inhalation, shift your weight forward and slower than you want to. Exhale, lower all the way down, seeing if both parts of the body can touch at the same time. Then as you're ready, you'll inhale and draw yourself forward into cobra pose. You'll stay in your exhalation, drawing those front ribs into the back body, lengthening your tailbone back even more. And then inhale, lift a little higher. Nice job. Exhale, slowly lower all the way down. Curl both sets of toes under, energize your legs, and draw the shoulder blades onto your back. Lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders, and then inhale, come up through modified plank or plank. And exhale, downward facing dog, 3 breaths. 3 steady breaths. And you're just noticing what you notice here. Can you keep those front ribs drawing into the back body so the front body stays as long as the back body? Awesome sauce. Okay, from here, inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. We're going to pause here. Square your hips as best as you can. Flex through that right foot, push up through your right heel, push down through your left heel, and then start to turn your leg out. So your right toes will start to point to the right and then maybe up towards the sky. And you'll start to stack that right hip on top of the left without letting your left shoulder blade collapse to the floor. Yep. From there, you can start to bend the right knee and maybe draw your right heel towards your left butt cheek. And then if you can, lift the right knee a little higher and feel a fun stretch happening across the top of your right hip. Push down into your left heel even more. Nice work. Next in breath, square your hips, lift up through that right leg, and then lower your right foot to meet your left. We'll try that on the other side. So go ahead and inhale, lift up through your left leg, keep your hips square, push up through your left heel, and then start to turn your left toes to the left until they point up towards the sky. And then you'll start to stack that left hip on top of the right. And then maybe you'll start to kick back through that left heel even more, bend that left knee and reach the left heel towards your right butt cheek. Push through your right hand even more so the right shoulder doesn't collapse. Yep. When you're ready, you'll start to re-square your hips, lift up through that left leg, and then lower the left leg down to the floor. Go ahead and lower your knees to the mat. And then grab your blocks if you have them, and grab your blanket once again. We're going to do a little navicular stretch before we go into this next thing, just because I've done this about 3 times this week. I've noticed that each time I do it, my feet wish I'd done this each time before I get to this next thing, and I never do. So we're going to do a navicular stretch before we get there. So from hands and knees, separate your knees wider than your hips. Take your right foot towards your left foot. Lift your left foot up. Bring your left foot into the arch of your right foot, and then you'll go ahead and sit yourself back. So your feet are crossed on top of each other like a little babies. And then if you'd like, you might lift that left knee up, and you're just pushing your left foot down into the sole of your right foot and dragging it out towards your right big toe, which is ironically to your left. And you could just move around as much as you want. And then you'll gently come forward and we'll switch sides. So knees wider than hips, take your left foot towards your right foot, lift your right foot up, top of right foot into bottom of left foot, start to press your bum back towards your heels. And the blocks are here just if your arms aren't long enough to touch the floor. And then you might lift the right knee, but you're pushing your right foot straight down, and then you're dragging it out towards the right. So Tim, is your right foot in the sole of your left foot? Okay, awesome. And then once you're done with that, let's go ahead and come forward. Curl both sets of toes under. We're going to take toe squat while I demo something to you guys. So curling both toes under, sit super tall. So when we go into this next transition, this is going to be awkward, but I actually literally want you guys to bend both knees like a little panther to step your foot through. So you're going to bend both knees. It really is a fun way to stretch both calves, and you're going to be little panthers. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a counter stretch if you were in toe squat. So tops of the feet to the floor, pitter patter your toes, happy little temper tantrum. And then you might shift your weight back and stretch the fronts of the knees and ankles and shins if knees, ankles, and shins permit. Nice job. And then when you're ready, make your way back to downward facing dog. Awesome sauce. Okay, so once we're in down dog, our priority number one is everyone push down through the L shape of your hands. Keep lifting up through your inner armpits and drawing your front ribs in and back. Then inhale, lift your right leg up and back like a lightning rod. It shoots up and back. Right leg stays completely straight. As you exhale, bend that right knee, drawing it towards your nose. Bend the left knee in order to step that right foot between your hands. Awesome sauce. From here, you might put your hands on your blocks. That might be really helpful. From here, step your back foot in just a little bit and spin the foot down for warrior one. So it's slightly to the left. Pause, press into your left pinky toe, draw your outer right hip back and reach your heart and sternum forward. From here, draw your hands to your hips and inhale, bring your spine up to vertical. Now keep your front knee super bent. I want you to see if you can draw your left hip a little bit more forward. And then lean your torso forward just a smidge until there's a diagonal from your head to your butt to your back foot. Bring both hands to heart center. Interlace your fingers. Send the heels of your hands forward and away from you and then up and alongside your ears. So now you're in one line from your head through your shoulders, through your butt. Sandy, you can lift your head a little bit. Roberta, you can lift your head a little bit. So, So now we're going to take that breath that we were working on in chair pose and add it here. So you're going to inhale into your pinky fingers, into your collarbones, into your ribs, and exhale the front ribs draw in and back. You're pressing into that back pinky toe a lot. And we're just going to do that 3 more times. So inhale, reaching, breathing into the pinky fingers, into the armpits, into the collarbones. Exhale, front ribs drawing in and back. And we're looking for a nice stretch along the front of our left hip flexor. Inhale, breathing into the pinky fingers, into the collarbones, into the upper armpits, the upper ribs. Exhale, drawing the front ribs in and back. And last breath cycle here. Big breath into the upper chest, upper ribs. And exhale, drawing that front ribs in and back. Next, inhale, bring your spine to vertical. Unclasp your hands and just reach them up and overhead like little goal posts. As you exhale, straighten that front leg long. Draw your outer right hip back, outer left hip forward. And then inhale, reach up through the arms even more. As you exhale, slight bend in the front knee. Hinge at your hips. Fingers come to the floor or the blocks outside of your front foot. Awesome sauce. Listen closely. Straighten that front leg pretty straight, slight bend. So you're in a modified pyramid pose. And you're just going to pause and breathe here for a moment. Notice how this feels in your body because we're going to come back to this shape. Inhale, bend your front knee. Start to walk your hands forward about a foot. Shift your weight forward. Lift your back leg off the floor parallel to the floor. Awesome sauce. Now, once you've walked your hands forward, make sure they're underneath your shoulders. So you might need to walk them even further forward, depending upon how long your torso is. You might need to turn the blocks up a tick so they're at their highest setting. From here, go ahead and look back at your left foot. Make sure your left foot is pointing straight down and then lift your left hip so it's parallel to the floor. Awesome sauce. Keep your left hand on the floor. Draw your right hand to your right hip. Push down into your left hand, lift up through your left foot. Inhale, lift the back of your head parallel to the floor. And then you'll exhale, start to rotate your abdomen towards the right. Start to rotate the right shoulder to the left. So it'll stack on top of the left. Keep lifting through your back leg and maybe you'll reach the right arm up. But we're most important focused on that back leg lifting. So it's like you're kicking a wall away, like happy little mountain. So Tim, lift your back leg off the floor completely. Awesome sauce. Now from here, you'll slowly lower that top arm back down to the floor. Bend your front knee. Start to walk your hands back towards your foot in order to lower your lifted foot back to the floor. And you're back now in that pyramid shape. So both legs straight, coming back into that pyramid shape. Nice job. So left foot down. And you might choose to stay here. You might peel the sole of your right foot up and away from the floor, but I want you to take a moment to check in and pause. How are the thoughts running through your mind? What are they saying to you? How's the body feeling? How's the breath feeling? Awesome sauce. Next, in-breath, bend your front knee, plant both hands on the floor, and then step back, downward facing dog, and pause. 3 breaths. Your knees can be super bent in down dog. We're most importantly focused on the back being long here. Back being long. Nice job, guys. And then we'll go ahead and try the other side. So inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Get the image of kicking through that back leg as much as you can, like you're trying to lift the whole world away. As you exhale, left knee bends, drawing the left knee to the nose, right knee bends, creating space to plant that right foot on the floor. Hands might come to blocks at this point in time. Step your left or right foot to the floor for warrior 1 legs. And then keep a bend in the front knee, lift your heart parallel to the floor, draw the low belly in, and then bring one hand to a hip, another hand to a hip. Squeeze your legs together and inhale, come up to vertical. Yeah, buddy, nice job. Now, since you guys have your hands on your hips for a moment, I want you to actually steer your hips. So see if you can steer your right hip forward, your left hip back. Continue to bend into that front knee a little bit. And then lift, or rather shift just your shoulders forward. It's about 2 to 3 inches. It's not a big, big shift. And then from here, hands come to heart center. Interlace the fingers, but do it the awkward opposite way. Send the heels of the hands forward and then reach them up and alongside your ears. Now we're going to take about 4 breath cycles here. So you're keeping your front of your neck, back of your neck, side of your neck super long. You're inhaling, breathing into the pinky fingers, into the collarbones, into the armpits. And the exhale, the front ribs come back. And we're just noticing if we can find a stretch across the front of our right hip flexor. So Sandy, you can lift your head just a little bit. Yeah, but keep drawing the front ribs in and back. Yep. So we're working on Jalandhara Bandha even here. So it's just this lift of the collarbones as we're reaching up through the arms. And we've got about 2 more breath cycles, and you're pressing on your right pinky toe. You're noticing what's happening across the front of your right hip flexor, maybe even along your right armpit, finding the latissimus dorsi along the right back body. You're just noticing what you notice. On your next inhalation, bring the spine up to vertical, unclasp the hands, reach the arms parallel towards each other like happy little goalposts. And as you exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg long. Keep a slight bend into your left knee. So not a super bend, just a slight one. And then next exhale, you'll hinge at the hips, reaching out through the fingertips, drawing the outer left hip back, fingers to blocks or floor, framing that front foot. Awesome. And then just take a moment to pause. Notice what you notice. Can you take a mental imprint of what this shape looks like, feels like for you? And then when you're ready, you'll bend your front knee. Start to walk your hands forward, shift your weight forward, lift your right leg parallel to the floor, and look back at that right leg, making sure the right hip is parallel to the floor. Kick back through that right leg a lot, and both hands are underneath both shoulders. From here, go ahead and lengthen the back of the head so it's parallel to the floor. Draw your left hand to your left hip. So lift whole spine parallel to the floor. And then as you're ready, you'll start to rotate to the left. And we're lifting that inner right thigh as you rotate, kicking back through that right foot. And this is really challenging us, and that's okay. You might lift that left arm up to the sky, but you're kicking back through the right leg a lot, pushing down through the right hand, heart reaches to the left. Nice job. Very gently lower that left hand back down. Bend your front knee, start to walk the hands back to your left foot, then tap the right foot down to the floor and come back into that pyramid pose, straightening both legs. And you might just stay here. You might peel the sole of the left foot up and away from the floor, but you're just checking in and you're noticing what you notice. How's the body doing? Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale, bend the front knee. Plant both hands on the mat or floor and then step back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Okay. You might want to walk your feet a little bit wider than hip distance and bend both knees and just notice how that feels in the low back. Notice how that feels in the sacrum. Jenny, keep drawing inner armpits up and back. Yep. Awesome. All right. Go ahead and inhale, press to the balls of your feet. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, step or float, top of space. Nice job. Make sure feet are about hip distance apart. And then inhale, halfway lift. Pause here. Press your palms into your shins into your palms. Lengthen the space between your sternum and your pubic bone. So the low back feels like it dips a little bit. Yeah. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back. And then one hand at a time, come to your hips. Inhale, come up to stand. Drop your tailbone down. So everyone bring one hand to your butt, slide your tailbone down, draw the other hand to the front ribs, slide the front ribs back and in, and just notice how that adjusts your spine just a little bit. Okay. And then you can go ahead and release the hands. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. And separate your feet about 3 feet apart. Now, if your hamstrings are pretty tight, you might want to walk your feet even further apart. If your hamstrings are pretty open, walk them closer together. And then we'll bring our hands to our low back and interlace our fingertips at the webbing. Make sure your feet are parallel to the short edges of your mat, and then draw the shoulders up towards your ears, draw your shoulder blades onto your back, and hug your elbows towards each other. Keep your elbows bent for a bit. Inhale, lift the collarbone, slightly lift the chin. As you exhale, chin comes towards the chest, hinge at the hips, slight bend in your knees, and come all the way down towards the floor. Keep your hands pretty close to your butt for a moment longer. Hug the shoulder blades onto your back, and then you'll start to reach your fists up to the sky. So they might stay there straight up, or they might go over your head. And so you're just working on drawing the shoulder blades onto the back. The arms can start to straighten, and you're just observing and noticing the length that's now happening on your side body. Check in with your head. Notice if there's any unnecessary tension in your neck. Can you just let the head be heavy, let the head be long? Great. You've got 3 more breath cycles here. Very gently, at the end of your 3rd exhalation, your hands come back to your bum. You release your hands, slide them down the outer edges of your thighs, down to the feet, and down to the floor. From here, I encourage you to either put your hands underneath your shoulders, or you can hold on to your ankles. It's totally up to you, but you're going to bend just your left knee, pressing the right pinky toe into the floor. Bend just the left knee, press the right pinky toe down into the floor. And you're just noticing what's happening on the inner right thigh. And then when you're ready, you'll straighten both legs, and then you'll try that on the other side, bending just the left knee, the right knee pressing onto the left pinky toe. And you're just observing. Can you let the head be heavy? Yep. So what we're doing here is, again, there's this tendency where many of us want to lift our head. We want to look forward. We want to see where we're going. But it turns out that if we can just tap into the wisdom that comes from our abdomen, that comes from our gut, it will help us in so many instances. Okay, go ahead and straighten that leg. If you'd like to repeat that one more time each side, by all means, go ahead and do that. If you'd like to take a slight variation, by all means, go ahead and do that as well. But see if you can keep the head heavy, the mind quiet. So we're not letting the mind talk us into things. We're trying to tune in and see what the body is telling us it needs. Letting the body guide us based on its wisdom, its intuition, its instincts. Great. And when you feel balanced between both sides, you'll go ahead and come to neutral. And this is going to be an awkward transition. I'm fully aware of this. But you're going to see if you can either wiggle walk your feet together and make your way to child's pose right where you are. So once you wiggle walk your feet together, you'll bend your knees and you'll come to child's pose. So you'll probably be facing the side of your mat. And in this child's pose, notice if it feels better for you for your legs to be together or the legs to be slightly apart. Notice if it feels better for you to have your arms forward or your arms sweeping back alongside your hips. And you're just checking in. How are you doing? All right. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and you'll bring your spine up to vertical. Great. Once you're seated, I encourage you to grab your blanket and you're going to just fold it in half. And we're just doing this if you have, I have a very bony sacrum, so I like to have a bit of padding underneath me. You might not need that. So you might say, yeah, Jessica, I don't need that. And you might just be on your mat. It's too bad Erica's not here because I think she would love this exercise that we're about to do. The rest of you might not be so happy, but we'll see what happens. So we're going to bring our hands behind us and we want to make sure our fingertips are pointing in the same direction as our toes. And like we did last week with the little flapper girls, I want you to bend your elbows, draw your shoulder blades onto your back. So you really feel your shoulder blades coming onto your back. It's almost like you're just hugging your elbows together. And then from there, push down into the index fingers to start to lift your chest more towards your knees. Now pay attention to what's happening here at your low back. I want you to see if you can start to hug your front two hip bones together to keep your low back exactly as it is. So front two hip bones start to hug together. Then you'll come to the tips of your pinky toes or come to the tips of your toes. From here, start to hug your legs together and lift your feet away from the floor, but nothing has changed in your back. Your chest is still flapper girling looking forward. Start to lift your legs a little higher, hugging your shins together, your knees together. Fun little feet. You can either point your toes like a dancer or you can take the Barbie floint so the toes are curling back. Now keep hugging those elbows towards each other, shoulder blades towards each other, and you might start to straighten your legs long. But we want to make sure nothing has changed in our low back. Oh, buddy man, and we're going to breathe for 3. Sternum lifts, chin draws to chest for 2. Hug those legs together for 1. Nice job. And then gently lower your toes back to the floor. Go ahead and sit up tall for Dandasana, staff pose, and you're just taking a moment to pause. And you're taking a moment to breathe, and you're noticing how the body feels. You're noticing how you feel. And we're going to do that again. Of course we are. Awesome sauce. And so when you're ready, we'll try that again. So hands come back behind you. Fingertips are facing in the direction of your toes. Bend the elbows, hug the elbows towards each other, shoulder blades onto back, and then lifting the sternum forward and up. And we're trying to keep our spine as long as possible. And then you'll start to hug your front two hip bones together. That'll engage the transverse abdominals and start to make your toes light. Once the toes become light, you can start to squeeze the legs towards each other and start to lift it so the shins might be parallel towards each other. You might stay there. You might start to straighten your legs long, but you're hugging front two hip bones together. You're lifting that heart up. You're hugging those legs together. Push down into your hands a little bit more, Sandy, so heart can come forward. Yep, for 3, for 2, chin to chest, for 1, yep, and then start to lower the legs back down. Sit super tall in the spine. Happy days, we're done with that. Well, I shouldn't say that. We're gonna do a few other core exercises, but you're done for that for now. So you're gonna sit up tall. I want you to check in with your legs. If it feels like your low back, the sacrum area that we've been paying attention to today, is still doing that little rounding grandpa thing, I want you to sit up on your blanket and potentially bend your knees. We're focusing on the sacrum, but we're going to use our arms to help. Okay. So from here, we're going to take 4 sets of these. You're going to inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. And just like we did standing, cactus the arms and hinge at the hips. And you're coming as far as you can, keeping your spine straight. And then inhale, sit back up, reach up through the arms, straighten up through the spine. And then 3 more. Exhale, cactusing the arms. Sternum comes to chin, chin comes to sternum. Inhale, coming back up. Exhale, hinging at hips, cactusing the elbows, chin comes towards your chest as you come forward. And inhale, come back up. 2 more times. So exhale, squeezing the shoulder blades onto the back as the elbows come down towards your hips. And inhale, come up, straighten both arms. And this one we're going to stay. So exhale, hinge at the hips, squeeze the elbows down. Now you might stay here in cornholio, according to Beavis and Butthead. You might lower your fingertips down towards the floor. You might start to crawl your hands forward towards your feet, but the spine has not changed in any of these instances. So the sternum is still lifting towards the chin. This chin is drawing back and in towards your throat. And then you'll just pause and breathe here for 3 to 5 breaths. Those legs are, if they're straight, the toes are pulling back towards you. The kneecaps are lifted up. And as you're here for these last few breath cycles, you might find that you can lift your collarbones a little bit more. Yep, as you draw your chin to your chest, so the back of the neck stays long. And then gently, for this last 3 breath cycles, I want you to round in as much as you want. So you'll take Paschimottanasana. So the chest can come down towards the thighs or the shins. The head can become quiet. Maybe touch fingertips to the floor if you can. Yeah, there you go, Tim. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Awesome sauce. And then those with hands on feet or hands on floor, start to walk your hands back towards you, start to lift your spine up to vertical. Take a moment to pause here. Think of lifting your heart, lifting your chest while drawing your chin in. So it's not coming up, but it's coming back and it's coming in towards your throat a little bit. And then very gently, you're going to make your way onto your backs. And when you get onto your backs, remove that blanket. And I want you to make sure you have enough room right to left so that when I ask you to do stuff with your legs, you won't hit things. Well, yeah, that's a good idea, Laura. Just turn sideways. Cool. And then you just lay down on your backs. And you're just checking in and you're noticing what you notice here. What are you learning about yourself in this moment? What is your body telling you? What is the breath telling you? What is the mind telling you? I've noticed that for me, it's been very interesting. I'm apparently a person that's addicted to work. We have these breaks that we're supposed to take during the workday, and I find myself unable to literally do it. I have to leave the house and walk around the block. Otherwise, I find myself doing some type of work activity. I know Roberta's shaking her head to me. No, 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 don't do that. But it's really funny to me. I didn't know that. Okay, so let's go ahead and bend both of our knees. The most conservative option that we'll start with is for people that feel like their low backs might not be so happy with them. I want you to bring your hands underneath your tuchus, underneath your butt, underneath your low back, and this will create a sense of support to you. And you're just going to push your low back into the floor in order to make this happen. If you feel like you don't need that, your arms can just open out to the sides and just hang out right to left in line with your shoulders. From here, start to draw your knees into your chest. And just like we did when we were on our back, or rather seated, I want you to squeeze your legs towards each other, hugging shins, ankles, knees, Barbie flointing through your toes or pointing through your feet. Then start to straighten both legs up towards the sky. And here's where our dancer work comes in for the day. Turn your toes out to the right and to the left, hugging your heels towards each other, hugging your inner thighs towards each other. Awesome sauce. Okay, listen very closely. The bigger that you make the movement of your legs, the harder this becomes to control. So you base this based on what your body is telling you, not what your mind thinks that you should be doing. So you'll inhale and open your legs out to the right and to the left. As you exhale, you'll sweep them forward and away from your head, hug them together and draw them back towards vertical. So you're making a big circle. Yep. And we'll do that 4 times. So inhale, legs open out and away. As you exhale, they sweep forward and away from you and then come back up together and to center. Yep, and you got 3 more of those. So legs open out and away. They sweep forward, they come together and then come back up to vertical. Yep, 2 more. And you're seeing if you can make this slow and steady and smooth. Awesome sauce. The next time your legs open out and they swim together and they come together in front of you, you'll stay there. We'll breathe here for 4 breath cycles. So the further that your legs are away from you, meaning closer to the floor, the harder this becomes. I want you to hug both front hip bones together for dear life. I want you to draw your pubic bone up to your belly button, and you're pushing your low back into the floor for dear life. And you got 3, relax your face. You got 2, make sure you're breathing. Next, exhale, draw the legs back up to vertical. Hug the knees into your chest, and we'll take a momentary reprieve before we reverse that motion. Did that make sense to everybody? It looks like we knew what we were doing. Yep, okay. Awesome sauce. Okay, let's go ahead and try it again. So if you want hands under your low back, you do that. Otherwise, hands are out to the right and to the left. This time you'll go ahead and reach both legs up to vertical. Barbie floint through your toes. So the toes curl down, but the balls of the feet push up. Externally rotate your legs so your toes point out. Awesome sauce. Then from here, inhale, the legs go forward and away from you, straight legs. As you exhale, they open out to the right and to the left. They come back to center and back up and overhead. Yep, and you got 5 of those. So inhale, the legs go away from you. They rotate out to the right and to the left, and they slowly come back up. And so as you take these next 3 sets, I encourage you to move slower than you want to while still breathing. The slower that you move, the more muscle that you're building and the more neurons that you're helping solidify in your brain. Jenny will have to tell me the exact term for that, but you're building neural connections by moving very slow. So you move very slow. Yep, and then the body helps you too. Awesome sauce. And then we're going to come back to that little holding position once again. So the next time your legs go forward, you'll just pause there. Lengthen your tailbone away from you a lot. Hug your front 2 hip bones towards each other a lot. Draw the pubic bone in towards the belly. The belly pushes into the floor for 3. You breathe for 2. You breathe for 1. Exhale, hug those legs in towards your chest. Okay, do we have one more core exercise in us, or are we done? Because I had 3, but I don't know if we wish to do a 3rd one. I didn't get any. I got 2 thumbs up from Jenny, thumb up from Laura, thumbs up from Tim and Barbara. Okay, so Sandy, I guess you're you're gonna go along for this. Okay, so let's open our arms out to the right and to the left. I want you to turn your palms to face up to the sky. Notice that that wraps the shoulder blades onto the back and onto the floor. Now see if you can keep that, but maybe you'll turn your palms down to the floor if that feels more secure and stable to you. Now lift both legs up towards the sky once again. Barbie floint through your feet, hug the shin bones together, the thigh bones together, the whole legs come together. Now keep your shoulder blades on the floor, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, the legs will hover over towards your right hand. So toes will come towards your right hand. Squeeze your right leg into your left leg, press out through your left big toe, and the lower that you go, the harder this becomes, and you'll breathe for 3. Make sure you're inhaling and exhaling for 2. Press out through the left big toe for 1. And when you're ready, you'll inhale and come back up through center. Press both shoulder blades into the mat and then exhale other side. So the left leg will press into the right leg. The right big toe will reach out. The right shoulder roots down, and you're breathing for 3. You're breathing for 2. You're breathing for 1. Go ahead and inhale and come back up through center. Draw the knees into the chest. Awesome sauce. And then you can go ahead and release the legs onto the floor long and just notice what you notice. How is the body breath imprint now? One of the fun things about doing core work is it really sort of wakes you up. It gives you a new sense of life and vitality and strength. And sometimes it just doesn't feel good. So where are you today? How is it feeling for you today? Self-knowledge is really noticing that sometimes we have patterns and ways of being, but that's not how we are all the time, which is great. All right, a few more things. Roll over onto your backs, onto your bellies. Onto your bellies. And once you get onto your abdomen, bring both hands to your sacrum, and the palms are facing up and your hands are stacked on top of each other. And then you'll separate your feet about hip distance apart. Okay, so we're going to try this opposite hand leg thing. So as you inhale, sweep your right arm forward, lift your left leg up, and your right arm will navel salute. Head will lift. As you exhale, sweep the arm back, look towards your left, lower the right cheek to the mat. And then we'll do that on the other side. So inhale, sweep your left arm forward, lift your right leg up, navel salute. And then exhale, sweep the left arm back, bring the left ear to the mat, lower the leg down. Great, and you got 2 more of those sets on your own. So you're inhaling, opposite arm and leg lift, and then exhaling, looking to the side that your leg was lifted on. And then you'll do the other side. So especially since most of us do a lot of sitting, this is a really good thing for strengthening and balancing out the back. Yep, and you're just moving slowly with your breath. And as you're doing this, the emphasis still is on lifting the collarbones, and the chin comes towards the sternum just a little bit. Yep, there you go. So that we're not jutting our chin forward. Just helps the mind stay quiet. Awesome sauce. I believe this should be our last set. Okay. Once you've completed your last set, bring both arms alongside the hips. Turn the palms to face the floor. Make sure your feet are about hip distance apart, and then lengthen through your tailbone a lot. Press down into the tops of the feet until the legs are long. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back. Lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders, and think of still drawing your chin towards your throat region as your heart reaches forward. Next in-breath, I want you to reach so far back through your toes that they lift up and away from the floor. Still keep lengthening your tailbone back. And then start to crawl your fingers back and slightly wide to lift your head and chest a little higher up and away from the floor. You might stay here. You might float your fingertips off the floor as you lift up more through the inner thighs and lift up more through the feet. You might stay there. You might see if you can reach the shoulder blades onto the back and heart and sternum lift. You might stay there. You might bend both knees and reach around and grab the outer edges of both ankles. If you're grabbing both ankles, you're going to kick back through your feet, lengthen back through your tailbone, drawing the front ribs in and back, and lifting up through those inner armpits like we did when we were in chair pose. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here in Dhanurasana if you're in that. That's nice, Tim. And if you are, I want you to see if you can still keep lifting. Inhale, lifting armpits, collarbones, exhaling, drawing front ribs in and back. After your 3rd exhalation in the shape, you'll gently release down to the floor. Bring an ear to the mat and just take a moment to pause. Switch ears if you have not already. Great. All right, bring your forehead back to the mat. Bring your hands alongside your shoulders. Press yourself up to hands and knees, and you're going to sit for a moment on your shin bones. And so just go ahead and sit tall, soften or close the gaze, whatever feels best to you, because we're not quite done yet, but we almost are. And I just want you to see how vertical can you make the spine, noticing what you're feeling in the body. Okay. Now this is not going to be comfortable, perhaps, if you've eaten this morning, but it should be good for you. So you're going to take your hands, and I want you to cross your thumb over to your pinky finger, and then wrap the other 4 fingers around. And you're going to do that on both hands. Okay, now you're going to put your hands in the space between your lowest ribs and your hips. Like I like to actually go in between my hips, and you're going to push the space back and up slightly. And then you're going to fold forward over your hands and bring your forehead down to the floor. Now, if you find that your forehead will not touch the floor, a block is a great thing to put underneath your forehead. Now, once you get down there, what I want you to do is notice what happens if you push your hands into your low belly. So it's into that low belly space between the hips. And you can move the hands in such a way that, like for me, I really find that I'm massaging my psoas muscle, and then it relaxes space around my low back and my butt area, and it just feels really nice. So you're just going to use your hands to push into your internal organs in whatever way it feels good to you until you start to find a bit of space happening there. And when you find a good spot, you'll just pause there and you'll breathe. And your awareness then comes to how can you send more breath into the back of your body? And you'll just pause and you'll breathe and you'll say, hello, body. Hello, body. A lot of the things, according to, yoga and chakras, say to live in this region that we're contacting, who we are, our essence of who we are, lives in this region. So we're just noticing what we notice. And then gently, you're going to keep pushing your hands into your belly and bring your spine all the way back up. All the way back up. All the way back up. And once you're vertical, release the hands, close and soften the gaze, and just take a moment to notice how you feel now. Does it feel easier to lift your heart, to lift your chest, to open the heart space? Awesome sauce. Okay, if the eyes are still closed, gently open them up, bring the butt to the side, and then sit on top or sit onto the floor. So last thing that we're going to do for today is we're going to take a twist and Sukhasana. So I want you to cross your ankles, and it doesn't really matter which one, actually it does. Make sure your right shin bone is in front. So left shin bone is closer to you. And you'll remove any flesh from underneath you and try to make sure your knees are roughly over your ankles. You might need to walk your feet a little further apart. Awesome sauce. The left hand will come to your right knee. And before we go any further, I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Right hand will come back behind your right hip on the floor. Eyes stay closed. Inhale, lift up through your spine. As you exhale, contact the right ribs, drawing the right ribs into the back body, and start to rotate from the inside towards the right. So we're not trying to force ourselves to get anywhere. We're just paying attention to what's happening on the internal landscape. And so you're just observing. You're letting the inner body unwind the spine, which ironically enough, we're winding the spine up to unwind the spine, but you're just noticing what's happening inside. You might feel a fun stretch go from your left shoulder blade down through the left low back region, left hip region. You might feel stuff happening around your neck. You might feel stuff other places, but you're just paying attention to what's happening inside. One of the things I've sort of noticed about going to corporate America, granted, I've only been there 2 weeks, so I really don't have much to go on, but it seems like there's a lot of competition about what's going on externally, about how people are working, how fast they're working, what they're doing. And it seems like a very easy place to lose contact with ourselves. We know ourselves through relationship, yes, and we know ourselves by tuning in to noticing what feels good, what brings us a sense of vivacity or aliveness to us. All right. On your next in-breath, you'll gently unwind. You'll come back to center. You'll pause for a moment and just notice how that feels. And then gently, when you're ready, switch shin bones. So now your left shin bone is in front, the right shin bone is behind. And we'll try all that on the other side. So right hand will come to your left knee, close your eyes. Left hand will come back behind you, and you'll rotate towards the left, and it's happening internally because those left ribs are drawing back, the right ribs are reaching forward. And we're not so much pulling with that right hand or pushing with the left. We're seeing if we can let those spine unwind. Awesome sauce. And you just got a few more breath cycles here. Do you feel a stretch going maybe from the right shoulder down across the back to the hips? Do you notice where you can soften the shoulders, maybe the jaw? Yep. And just observe and notice what's happening here. On your next in-breath, you'll gently unwind and come back through center. Now, as you are here, I want you to just start to walk your hands as far forward and away from your face as you want to. Far forward and away from your face as you want to. And you can just pause and breathe and notice where sensation is now. Do you feel it in the low back? Do you feel it in your outer hips? Do you notice if you can soften any tension around your shoulders, around your head, around your neck? So you feel an opening across the upper back. Maybe you feel some opening on the inner thighs. Just observe and notice what feels right, what feels good, what feels alive for you. Okay, and then gently you'll start to walk the hands back. You'll take a moment to sit tall. Nice job, guys. And then you'll slowly make your way onto your backs. Now, the final shape I do encourage you to take is Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees open and splayed like a book, but you do whatever the heck works for you. You might find that straight up Shavasana feels nice. But you're just going to take a moment to just land on your back. And if you are in Supta Baddha Konasana with the legs open, it might feel really nurturing and nourishing to have something supporting the legs so that you don't have to hold on. I find that perhaps a lot of us lose track of how we're feeling, what we're thinking, really, and what we're noticing in terms of sensation because we allow our awareness to get driven by the external. We allow outside measurements to, in essence, govern our worth. And that might just be a lesson that I'm learning for myself, but I think that there might be a common humanity with that. So we're just noticing here. I want you to first check in and see where you want your hands. Does it feel nice to have the hands touching the body, or does it feel better to have them off? And then I want you to just observe the sensations as they rise and as they fall. How does the neck feel in this position? Does it feel like the chin is jutting up, or does it feel like it's nestled into the neck? What does the flow of breath feel like? What does the floor feel like, or the texture of the clothing on your body feel like? I think one of the cool things about getting older is that we do get to know ourselves a little bit more. And I think it's just a couple of things. The first, we have more time spent with ourselves. But the second is I think we learn to slow down, to spend more time with ourselves. So as you're here for these last few minutes, I'm going to be quiet and I just want you to be with yourself and just notice what you notice. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Go ahead and return your awareness. As you come back, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you that longs to linger in this shape for a few more moments or a few more breaths, by all means, just hang out here. When you are ready to move on, you'll gently invite small movement back into your physical form. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, start to make your way to your right side and just hang out there for a few breath cycles. Gently roll your chest more towards the floor and press yourself to a tall, comfortable seat. And when you're vertical, I do encourage you to just take the opportunity to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. When you feel vertical, remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. Plant your hands on top of your thighs. And then stack the ears over the shoulders over the hips. Soften the gaze down towards the floor or close the eyes completely. And I want you to just check in. So we started by asking how you were, and I want you to just notice how you are now. In particular, notice the breath print. Notice how you feel emotionally. Notice how you feel physically. Everything that we do is an opportunity for us to learn more about ourselves. Everything that we do, in essence, is a meditation. And so I just want you to take the last 3 breath cycles here to just notice what you notice. We'll complete our practice by bringing our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into the sternum and then lift your heart towards your hands. Soften your chin towards your throat and slightly towards your chest. Go ahead and exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, to that sound, we bow. Namaste.